Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Memento Futurum podcast. This is Vanessa, your host, and today we're talking with Arizona from the Purple Diamond. She's been on before, and I'm so excited to have her back. A little bit about Arizona if you haven't listened to that first episode. Arizona is an artist and mystic, creator of the Purple Diamond Tarot deck. She works with the tarot as a divinatory form of pictorial poetry to empower and clarify, working in the archetypal and imaginal realms as a lens for healing. Welcome back, Arizona. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure.
I'm really excited for this. And um, yeah, I was just checking in today. The space feels really soupy and liminal. And that might just be because I'm chatting with you. And I know that you're so adept at working in that space. Um, but a few things that I wanted just to drop in with before we kind of get into it. So you have line three tarot coming in.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
This is the last piece of what I'm calling a three-part mystery school into the major arcana, so the 22 most high energy archetypal cards in traditional tarot. Um, the last piece will be live end of October, and then you can also sign up later to get the recordings as well. But live is really cool. We kind of dive into the medicine of the cards and as archetypes, and then we do a different divinatory or creative practice aligned with the energy of each archetype and a ceremony. So you really get to embody the wisdom and find the wisdom in your own life of each archetype. And line three is all about transcending. So these are the cards like the sun and the moon and the star, and we're transcending the physical with this line. So I think it's going to be extra extra
Mm.
cosmic.
Oh, I'm so excited. I have something to ask about it. But and then really quickly, you are also offering, you said creative meditations.
Yeah, so I've been offering these all year, every couple of months online, and then I did the first one in person in London recently. And these are, well, based on just what I have been doing myself, with a background as an art, and art has just been the biggest kind of healer for me in my personal practice. And so in these meditations, you're guided to make marks of any kind from, just a biro or paint or embroidery or dance, like whatever you want, whilst we go into the body and like taste and feel and test into how, for example, the heart is feeling or the liver is feeling. So it's about getting to know yourself, being empowered to make marks, and also just stoking that creative energy, which to me is life force energy, is healing energy, and just enhances our life all around, even if we're not making art.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen you posting about them, and they have a particular draw, and I'm it's timing for me personally, but you're really doing some special work around work play. I don't know that word sometimes has a thing, but yeah, it feels really special what you're dropping in with, and I'm so excited to see what comes of the line three tarot because you named the major arcana cards that I feel like I'm the most like close to in a way. I mean, I'm close to all of them, but for me, I'm connected to the star, which I mean, I think you are as well, right? You're an Aquarius.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I hear the star and I'm like, oh, yes. Can you share a little bit, just, for people who don't know, like about the star card or some wisdom around that?
Yeah. Um, I mean, of course, with the tarot, right, there's a million different ways to read it, which is why I love the tarot so much. There's always more depth. But for me, the first thing I think about with the star is healing and guidance. And some people talk about like goals with the star. I find it personally to be a bit more like hey, it's okay to kind of be here now under this silvery gossamer kind of bell jar shape where maybe actually not that much is externally moving, but just trust that so much is being woven and reorganized in your being. I think that starlight is something, it's such a beautiful like quality of light, and I think it really mirrors back our specialness, like everyone's specialness, so a
Wow.
chance to stop and be in receipt of that.
Mm, there's so much there.
Mm.
I'm like, I want to be able to listen back to that. And then I'm like, oh, wait, we're recording this.
Perfect.
I'm so silly. Um, I like that you said that starlight, how did you put it? The starlight shows us something different in each person.
I think it shows us like how we're special. I think it's a really like we use light quality to see, right? And so when I think of like the particular beautiful ancient wisdom of starlight coming down and hitting water and reflecting to us who we are, I think it
Mm,
really shows us how we're special, yeah, each one of us.
wow, that's like really inspiring me to bring that card like into my dreams as an incubation
Oh, yeah,
and
beautiful.
just like sleep on it and meditate with it. I feel like your wisdom always brings in something else about the tarot. Like there's always so much to learn. I feel like there's a lot of different perspectives on how to view the tarot. Um, but there's something that really lands when you speak. So for me, so I'm really like very grateful for that. That view. And I want to share that your Purple Diamond Tarot. So I have the deck and I've been working with it and it sits on my nightstand. So a lot of the times I'm like, I wonder how this deck is just even
Mhm.
filtering into my dreams and all of that. And I have many decks, and it is my son Ollie's favorite deck.
Oh, I
And
love hearing that.
I mean, it's so funny because he's 3, and I mean, we're just, he sees me working with different decks, and he always wants to play with that one. And I'm like, there's something here with this, and I know it's really connected to your um, childhood and your childhood story.
Mm.
Particularly, he will turn in the book to the strength card that has a tiger on it.
Oh, wow.
And he always smells it and he says, it smells so good. It smells like orange.
Wow. You know what? That's actually really meaningful. I mean, of
Really?
the tiger is orange, so maybe, but well, two things. One, I have posters of that card, so I can send him a poster. I'll send you a poster. We can
Oh,
organize that. And that card has really been like a guide for a lot of people, but particularly elderly people and young people.
interesting.
So like that card, it's the only one I have a poster of and has been in the room with people as they've passed on, as they've died, and in the weeks towards that. And then also it's in a lot of children's bedrooms. I guess it's just that protector energy. But when I was a kid, I this is like a tangent, I guess, but when
Now
I was a kid,
perfect.
I knew I could smell illness. And I just thought everyone could. Like I didn't even say it. It was like that.
Mm,
And a lot of times I would like get oranges around if someone was sick, like
mm,
because I felt like that was the smell that combated the smell of just like every day, like the flu or common colds and stuff without
wow.
knowing, because I was super young, like vitamin C and
Hmm.
um but I always think of that memory or some of those memories with the strength card. So it's interesting that he got the smell.
I'm really blown away by that. And it's connecting to a lot of things that he does and that he shares about. And um,
Mm.
I'm just taking that in as nuggets for later. Like, wow. Um, what you said about the poster being in the room with people who pass on. Um, I don't know that I thought about that card in that way, but it makes so much sense because the strength card for transition, um, in that way at least,
Yeah.
seems really really profound. Um, you know, children, our inner child knows. They always knew. Um,
Yeah.
it's so shocking. um, yeah, your deck really, I mean, it holds that, so colorful. He likes a lot of other cards too, but that one, it's something we do together. But wow, I just like have to take a breath because that was so, I don't know. It's really landing for me, in a profound way. Um, yeah. I know that, just before we were chatting a little bit about Mercury retrograde, Leo Virgo situation.
Hmm.
And just wanted to touch base with you here about that. And um, I don't know. I'm just curious to know your perspective for all of us, wisdom for all of the people listening around retrogrades and kind of being on the other side now. Um, Maybe like what we could think about or feel into,
Hmm.
um, if that question makes sense. But
Like in this one specifically.
yeah, yeah, or maybe even for the next one because I feel like they all connect. It's kind of like I feel like from retrograde to retrograde, specifically with Mercury, it's like things pick up in a way where they left off in the last retrograde.
Hmm.
Just the different sign will change things. But I'm curious if you're noticing any connections across retrogrades or just how this one went for you. I know it was really activating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they usually actually don't affect me that much. Like I don't usually like think about scheduling with them because they're just usually pretty good to me. Like I have a lot of Mercury in my chart and I even like went on a pilgrimage last year. Yeah, end of last year to Ireland and found this like ancestral family home and there was a temple to Mercury in it, which
oh my
is weird.
gosh.
I was like, no, why? But this one, like everything broke, like everything I have technological broke. Um, and then just like everyone, like so many people around me have been in such deep crisis. And like often like all on the same day, like lots of like strange kind of accumulations of things.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people this entire year have been experiencing almost like a timeline jump or something, or just like things changing really rapidly and actually like usually for good, although sometimes there's some breakdowns like first. And I do feel like things are kind of, yeah, in tarot this year is well, depending on what deck you follow, is either a justice or a strength year. And I think
Mm.
that's really come through in a lot of the transits as well, where it's like, okay, like let's get to what's true here, and we're gonna speed it up, and we're gonna just like get
Hmm.
you through this.
Total quantum leap,
Yeah.
quantum processing feels like.
Hmm.
And I like that you reminded me about the 8 year justice and the strength. We just talked about the strength card, and um, how it's relating to the retrogrades because I do think that feels really connective. Um,
Yeah.
Retrograde usually means to reflect or to pause,
Hmm.
and things usually move at a slower speed, though this last one for me there was nothing slow about it. Like it
Yeah.
was very like rapid change. I think like reflective but not slow. Those other times for me it lands as like a slower pace. um so that was interesting for me to drop in with. And um I don't know the dates for the next one at the end of the year yet, but yeah, I'm just curious kind of like how the threads move together with that. Um, but yeah, I just feel like there was something you mentioned about the people. Oh, and yeah, the going to Ireland and finding the Mercury. You said temple? Is that what you said?
Yeah. It was like a kind of like, I don't know, like, and they're called like pagodas, like a kind of like you could walk inside it. It was kind of circular with like a dome roof. It wasn't very big. Um, in out in the gardens with like a Mercury on top, like a statue in
Wow.
kind of Greek style.
You just happened upon it.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
This story is blasting me out. Arizona, oh my Lanta. Okay. Um, because you're speaking, and I think you said something about it being really something for the people. But my brain, see, because this is me listening in between the conversation and everything, I was thinking about ancestry, and then you went into sharing about that, and I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? With my listening.
Yeah,
These
we're
weird moments.
on threads.
So I'm curious how, so you, what month was this? Like, has this been a long-term journey for you as far as going back to ancestral things, or, how did that, even the trip form is my main question right now.
Um, I went in December of last year,
Okay.
um, and it all happened pretty quickly. I did a like shamanic style journey, and um, my intention and my question was show me the fracture in my maternal line.
Mm.
And I was shown something I was like very, very powerful, but I was also shown, or guides came who were ancestors, and they had like full names and they had dates and they had pieces of information. And
Wow.
then when I came out and went on ancestry.com, it was like instantly all verified.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I could see that there had been like one of the things coming through was that there was some land who was unhappy with my family basically, and I could match the dates and see that like a ton of stone, like 80,000 tons of stone had been taken from a quarry to build an extension, because this part of the family at this time had a castle in Ireland. I found out through this thing. I had no idea before this.
Wow.
Uh, and they'd built this like extra wing at that time. And so I guess really upset this land spirit. So I went there to apologize and acknowledge that, um, and also see this castle, see this space. And yeah, it was amazing. It was very like it was very clear that the land spirit had accepted my apology, which was nice of it. Didn't have to. But also, not a blockbuster. Like nothing nothing
Mm-hmm.
kind of crazy happened, but
Mm-hmm.
really just the kind of knowing.
That is amazing. And so I asked because I have been listening to people, number one, talk about the retrograde, and then also kind of in the same breath speak about in like the last month ish, being on some kind of ancestral journey or working with their bloodline or like really paying attention to the generational effects on them and their being. And so it was just interesting to hear that kind of pop through in the context of Mercury retrograde and going back. And I might even say that there's something here around that. Like I'm like, I don't think that this is um just the people I'm talking to. Like there's something around that. I'm curious in within the collective, maybe who else is also like just how much of the collective is working in this way. I know for you this happened last December, but I would venture to say you're probably ahead of collective energy. Um,
It also has really like it ended there in one way, but it's like set up everything that I've been doing and working with like personally this year. So
right.
um yeah, there's definitely been a strong theme for me of ancestral work, but also just like getting down and into the roots of the issues and like dealing with them in maybe an expedited way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel that for myself as well. Definitely getting into the roots of things. And I, at the solstice, I had a really deep, like, heart to heart with myself. And I was like, we're not going to continue to complain about this situation and, all these different things that are going on. I'm like, we're just going to get to it. We're going to get to the heart of this thing. And I really chose to drop a lot of things, you know,
Mhm.
and my life just started to like rapidly accelerate.
Mhm.
And it's still like I feel like I'm on a rocket. Like I still feel like I'm
Mhm.
accelerating. So it's interesting, just like the word like root, like getting to the roots of things. Um, I've been using that language a lot, so that feels really resonant and synchronistic. And then in the last, I want to say month and a half, it's like for me, it's working with my maternal line as well, and really looking at just my mom, my nonna, and then my nonna's mother, my mom's grandmother. Those three people just specifically, and then there's even more beyond, and meditations beyond. But my mom's grandma, she was an Aquarius like me, and her name was Antonetta, and she was like a farm worker. She lived in like the Italian countryside, and she was I'm like there's so much, I'm trying to be concise, but she was her main job was really tending to the land and farming vegetables, and I don't think she liked that life. My connections with her and things that have been confirmed through stories with my grandma are just like she wanted something else for her life. And it's really interesting because I think that I feel that a lot. Like I think that I've taken on that part of the line,
Mhm.
because so much of my life has been like do it differently, do it bigger, have like double Aquarius, sun and rising, and then moon and Leo. It's just like this energy around just move things forward. And then now really seeing the generational ties. It's real, I don't know, it's really deep, it's really interesting.
Mhm.
um and I'm connecting this too as well to the time that you're doing the line 3 tarot, and like October. And I think of October, at least the later part, as like the Samhain and the ancestral or the Celtic New Year, and like kind of a reset energy. I don't know the dates of your class, but just feeling like yeah, timing.
Yeah, exactly. We will definitely be starting with that kind of Celtic New Year energy and like kind of, yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
first foray into the mystery of the darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, so it's curious to me that we're chatting about it today, in the context of the Virgo season, which I don't know, to me it feels like a time that cleans things up and prepares body, mind, spirit before the turn of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Uh,
love that.
but I don't know. I'm like, oh, I feel really not in time right now, and that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot with that, but um, yeah. So you were sharing about how it set things up for you in your year working in this capacity and getting to the roots of things. Um,
Yeah.
and I shared my own tangential situation on that, but I'm curious to know more about that. Like, so how are you seeing kind of like the ripple out from that work?
Um, I so I continued working in that way, and just the information I was getting was like so specific and so spot on, um, that it's really led me to some interesting places. Um, I also met a guide um, who it was then confirmed was a relation, who was from Nova Scotia, and she's given me a lot of teachings this year, and she's been really pushing me um, she was from the Micmac tribe, so she was an indigenous person from Nova Scotia. So she's
Wow.
been pushing me to explore more seriously shamanism and actually seek out teachers because most of what I've done has been through my own stuff or my own guides. And so I found a teacher,
Hmm.
uh, which is another story because that was a whole funny way of doing that. But I found a teacher who is this amazing elder, both a shaman, like from the Peruvian tradition, from Holy Mountain, the Andean mountain, and also has been like a lawyer for most of his life as well. Uh,
Wow.
Interesting mix. And um, there's been something within that coming through about shamans being like lawyers of spirit and kind of being the go-betweens between human and spirit, like plant spirit,
Hmm.
mountain spirit, everyone, and just kind of making sure that everyone gets a deal that they're happy with, and taking the time to understand the kind of strange rules of the different courts of beings in order to do that work. So
Mm. What a way to put that. Hmm.
yeah, so the actual ancestry stuff has kind of come in and out of view, but it's really pushed me into, and I think that's still unfolding. I've been making some jewelry recently, and I did like a jewelry workshop with an amazing woman, and I just got the pieces back, and I'd been thinking about how like my last name is Smith, which is, like blacksmith, silversmith. It means
Hmm.
maker, right? And I
Wow.
was thinking about how like there was a point where arts and crafts got split into two things, like before everything was art and everything was craft.
Hmm.
Art is like a new term. And so kind of if everything is art, then Smith means art. And as an artist, I was enjoying that. But I got these jewelry pieces back. This is yesterday. Yesterday.
Wow.
I the chains and everything. I got home and I was excited to put them all together on the chains. And I saw I had a voice note from someone who's like offline. She wouldn't know I'd made any jewelry. But she's a jeweler. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's cool. And then I listened to the message and she was like, I hope this is okay. This is so weird, but you came to me in a dream and asked me if I had any spare jewelry tools, and we had this long chat about like how you're a smith and that you have this deep passion for silversmithing, which and so I am actually moving country, and I'm downsizing, and I have like about £3,000 jewelry supplies I would love to gift you. Um,
Wow.
and that's like, what a sign and what a generous heart. But it's interesting because I really enjoyed making the jewelry and I had planned to make more, but I probably wouldn't have said I had a deep passion for jewelry yet. But
Uh-huh.
it's so being tied in, like my ancestry
Mm.
is like, no, you're a smith.
I have to pick my jaw up off the floor. Um, this is yesterday.
Yeah, this is yesterday.
I love it. It's so fresh. Um, yeah, things like this happen. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're gonna be doing some silversmithing? Is this what
I
we're hearing?
guess so. I guess so. The jewelry I made so far has been like called lost wax casting. So you make it out of wax, and then you can send it off, and someone will cast it into a metal of your choice.
Oh.
Smithing's a bit different. You're like hammering the silver and getting it hot and all that, which I've never done before, but apparently
Mhm.
according to my dream self, maybe my Smith ancestors, that is what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's so incredible. That is so incredible. I mean, that in my body, I'm like lit up for you. Um, that's really exciting. I can't wait to hear more. It's like Arizona Chronicles now. I'm like, oh, I want to hear about these dreams. I want to hear about it all. Um, so I have to go back though for a moment because you said at one time it was all art and crafts. Can you share more about that? Like, and maybe I don't know, timing or what you mean there because I'm really curious.
Yeah, totally. So if you think kind of back in time, um, there would be, you would know who had made everything in your home.
Mm,
Um, you would know who had made your quilts and blankets, and it maybe a relative you'd know who'd made your table and chairs or your cooking pot or all those things. And they would, be made as beautifully as possible because that would have been someone's craft and someone's passion. Um, and in the Renaissance period, so this is the um yeah, and then in the Renaissance period, this is when the term artist came in, or the meaning of artist as separate to craft came in, and this was supposed to be like art that was made kind of for no purpose other than like transcendence or enlightenment. And so a lot of that was around like religious art or holy art, and it was in that kind of hierarchical way, um, more than craft, better than craft, and that's really been lasting. There's still kind of in the collective psyche that an artist is like maybe more important than like a craft maker in some way, which is crazy. And then in the 1800s, the term fine art came in. So that's what, like, if you went to a contemporary art gallery, they'd say that's we have fine art. And so there's even greater distinction there about levels of art. But really,
mm.
if you take away those labels and that hierarchy and go back to like actually the majority of history, it just is things that people have created from their hands. You know, people have made beauty forever.
Wow. I did not know I was going to get a history lesson on like the fracture of art because that's at least the way that I'm receiving it or feeling it. So many people are like, I'm not an artist because XYZ. Like, I'm not an artist because, they don't produce fine art or quote unquote fine art, all these different things. And it's really interesting to kind of hear from you, like, the whens, kind of like when this was brought in.
Yeah, yeah,
You made such a good point with at one point we would have known all of the makers of all of the things in our house. And I'm like looking around my room, I'm like, I'm pleased to know a lot of the people that, I have a lot of art in here, but I'm like, I don't know who made this teapot. I don't know who made this candle holder. Um, and it's just interesting. It's interesting to consider
yeah,
um,
yeah.
where we get our things. And
I think it does change our relationship to stuff. Like I think um there's way more kind of clear like animism available when we know who's made everything, like
yeah.
if someone has made a teapot for you, you engage with it a little bit more like it's a being, or it's kind of got like chi or energy, than if you just need a teapot and you buy one,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a really nice teapot that you've bought.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And this is so I I've been looking at Arizona's sacred talisman, uh sacred art. What do you call it? I feel like I'm not landing the words right now.
Yeah, no, you have it perfectly. Sacred art. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking at those for a while. Um and it's interesting because it's like timing and things like that, and I really feel like so you were in a post the other day wearing one of your, I think it's a talismanic piece, a copper.
Mhm.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
necklace.
Hmm.
And I thought it was Isis. I don't know if it was actually Isis.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
Isis. Okay.
Like, yeah.
Because sometimes I see things and then I've had to do this because I'll be like talking to an artist, be like, that was your art, right? And they're like, no, that's something else. And like, just like their perceptions, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's how I received it. And you're sharing it was Isis. And it hit me so profoundly that I was like, I really need I just feel things with certain people and certain energies that I'm called to, and I was like, I really feel like I'm gonna need a piece from Arizona at some point. And hearing what you shared about that, I'm like, yeah, the timing is gonna be so perfect when that lands.
Oh, thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
like just really dropping in with that. Because when adornment is so special to me. And and I know you have a lot of other kind of sacred art pieces that you can offer others, but like when I put something on, it's like for a very specific energy or very specific reason, and I love to know who the people are that make
Hmm.
my jewelry or that make anything that I wear because I think of those people. And like it's like I
Yeah.
feel like I'm just like carrying them in my back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like tarot decks, right? Like you are wearing, you're adorned with kind of an extension of that person's energy, or, it's almost like ancestry, actually, isn't it? I'm just thinking, like, as I'm
Ooh,
talking,
yeah, like
who is
artistic
the ancestor
ancestry.
of your teapot? Who is the ancestor of your shawl?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives a really special energy, I think, to the things that we use, and um, it's. I mean, I feel this, I share this, but I feel like it just reaffirms um, supporting supporting local or supporting real artists. You know, like the people that we know that are making the art that we feel inclined to. Um, and then I mean, there's also just supporting, whomever, just the things that we're drawn to, but um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a real people's people kind of person.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I really like to see people thrive in their art. It's one of my highest joys,
Yeah.
and seeing the difference in all of it and how people process. But um,
Mhm.
yeah, just, obviously, if you haven't checked it out, like go look at these sacred art pieces that are possible for commission, I think is how you put it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
we can do like a sacred art reading, where I will tap in and channel something of a modality that calls, or you can commission something more specific if you have an idea.
so amazing. So amazing. Um, I'm just going to start talking about that the whole time because it blows me away. Anywho. But yeah, so pre-Renaissance, see, I'm going back to this conversation because I'm really like, whoa with this. So pre-Renaissance, you're saying that it was all one body of creation is like, like people weren't really thinking about art as separate from craft.
No, it was all the same thing, and it was all beauty, and it was all revered.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something for me to reclaim in those timelines because I'm having a really like profound, energetic
Hmm.
response to that.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's really curious to me. Um,
Yeah,
because I don't know, I just feel like the hierarchical nature of that has done such a disservice to a lot of people.
absolutely. And I think if we go back to the idea of like creativity being life force energy, creation, literally, like we give birth to,
Mm-hmm.
um, and our hands being extension of our hearts. Um, if like when that gets messed with, and when hierarchy comes in a way where it splits us off from that, or it splits certain people off from that, like that's really damaging, and that damage has been done across generations at this point. but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually very new.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And would you have any wisdom or any tips for people as far as, so you mentioned like the heart hand connection and like maybe how to get into that flow or how to really engage hand and heart. Yeah, I'm curious about what you might say for heart, like heart wisdom and creation process.
Yeah, I when I'm doing these guided meditations, I always take time um to drop into the heart, to drop into the body, to feel supported by the furniture or the floor that you're on. And then from that space of being supported, begin to move energy in the heart, and kind of flow that down the arms and towards any utensil that feels good, whether it's a biro or something like a paintbrush or whatever, and just see what comes through. And it might be like the tiniest movements at first. It might be like just like these tiny, tiny little bounces of the pen, or it might be big, broad um, brush strokes, but just giving space for the heart to speak and bringing that awareness and not really layering in any other practice on top of that. Just trying to watch the judgment that probably will occur for most of us about what the marks should look like, what the heart should be saying, or how we should make it more complicated, what's
Mm,
appearing on the page. I find that to be the most kind of like grounding and like honestly, like it makes me emotional. Like I find it like a real heart opener, I guess, as a practice to just allow that space for the heart to speak
wow. And then seeing.
and seeing the actual manifestation. And
Hmm.
like the judgment comes up, or you try and kind of like do a little thing, like do a kind of drawing that you know, and you just bring it back and let it be illegible, let it be like maybe something that you feel is ugly or messy or incoherent, let it be its own thing.
And you're doing this work in the creative meditations.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. hmm I find that when I do exercises like this, it it opens me up to something completely different. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mind had a trajectory and like had an agenda, and that's cool. That was a cool idea, Vanessa. It's like how I put it. But then the other thing that comes through always blows me away. Like, wow, this is so like what does the word? It's more true to who I am.
Yeah. 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 I
Uh,
always think it's a really good thing when you get surprised, you know?
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my medium, I love doing things like that because that's outside my comfort zone. Like,
Mhm.
paints or pastels or pen. Like, I'm not so much, I don't work in that space as much. I like it. But um, for me, it happens through voice. And that's, I don't know. I mean, I was trained as a classical singer for many years. And um, the undoing of that process was really great for me. And I've, in my 20s. And just kind of like hearing a sound and then bringing voice to it and then hearing a sound and bringing voice to it. I'm like what you described feels very similar to what I do with sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then all of a sudden there's this, well, I don't know, a song thing. Um, and it wasn't what I planned to sing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's exciting. I love that process. It's exciting to me because like I like singing songs with words, don't get me wrong, but um, yeah, the thing that comes out is like, oh, that's what I needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And like this is channeling. Like this is,
hmm
if you went to a mediumship class or a psychic development class, like whether the format was song or voice or art, like this is some of the kind of exercises you do And also, I think they're great exercises to do to just hear what the body is saying.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, I hope a lot of people get to hear this nugget specifically right here. Like,
Mm.
um, the way you described it's really special. And there's almost like an energy work that's happening inside the conversation that I'm bringing some voice to right now because it's really I'm like I have no other word. It's really special. Um, so original. Um, Anywho, yeah, I'm feeling complete. How about you? Is there anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. Yeah, time's flown. It's been beautiful.
So I it just flew. It just flew. Um, Anywho, I will link everything so that you can get connected to Arizona. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode and to all of the other episodes that you've listened to and for connecting with us in this outside of time space container. And we'll talk with you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.